Yeah, Tarun. See, there are see, there is a question comes, Tarun, about getting into the machine learning part, okay? And especially when we want to get into the machine learning, we want to learn the AWS, okay, and Azure. These are all very important platforms where we should learn, we should get exposed. So the problem over there is you need, when you install the software, you need to specify your credit card details over there. There are some services which are freely offered to you guys. There are some services which are not free. And even when you switch the, when we actually, there is a, when you shut down, so not shut down, when you close the application, servers are not going to shut down automatically. Okay. And if unknowingly, if you use some service which is very useful from a practice perspective or from any assignment perspective, backend it will generate lot of what do you call it, it will use as the services, and it will be still running behind the scenes though you close the app, close the application. So there was a situations where 9 lakhs bill came because people were not aware that it is a kind of a paid service, and they were under the impression as soon as we close the application everything will go down. No, there are ways how you can actually close the service in AWS and Azure, and it's not everything is not free over there, and finally we have to negotiate, and finally we end up paying about 2 to 3 lakhs. Okay, and it was something like people said, "Oh, you never told us, sir. So we gave you this much money, but it's not our problem. You have to pay." But from a humanity perspective and from understanding perspective, I ended up paying that money. So I don't want to get into that anymore. And moreover, these two platforms, you there are many drag and drop facilities for R and Python programming, and many other facilities are available. Eventually, you have to learn these things, okay? But it requires some kind of a proper guidance there. Until unless these, when you are learning these Python, R, and this data science physical concepts, don't be in the hurry of getting into AWS or Azure and all those things, because Microsoft or Amazon services, they more of, they make you shield behind the statistics. If you don't know the statistics, you can never be a data scientist. Unfortunately, industry thinks that just by knowing the coding, they can become the data scientist. It is not. It is data science is always programming plus statistics. So first learn the statistics. And learning the statistics is not about just a 3 months or 4 months kind of thing. It will take minimum 3 to 6 solid months. Solid effort of daily you are spending 6 to 8 hours. Then you will get the sub, then you will hang on to. That is why there are so many jobs today in IT industry in Hyderabad or Bangalore or Pune in India. But still, why industry is struggling the scarcity of data scientists is this. It is not just writing a small program and writing, oh, this is all about I know. No, it's much more beyond that. Okay, and there are a lot of domain expertise is required, lot of internal understanding of the concepts, and lot of understanding of the limitations of each and every concept, and the very well knowing about where the particular concept of statistics is applicable in what kind of a scenario. So if take it granted, if you want to become a really, you want to grow your career, invest at least 1 year time frame in the data science. If you are not ready for that, forget it. But once you invest that 1 year kind of effort into this area, 300% I can guarantee you your future is going to be amazing, and the kind of salaries that you will be drawing is amazing. Okay. So that is why data science is not everybody's cup of tea. Just that people listen from buzzwords, people listen these buzzwords. Everybody wants to get there, thinking that it is like a Java, thinking like that it is some other language. What is there in big deal? Okay. So even when you are looking into learning this R programming also, this is pretty simple. What is the big deal in this? But when I take you into the statistics components and then I'll start giving you I mean, after this, we will be getting into the data distributions. You all will come back and say, sir, we are not understanding it. That is the crux of the subject. This coding part, AWS, Azure, tomorrow some other thing may come. That is the right now demand is there because it makes the implementation part very easy. Okay, we will look into that, Tarun. Then let's not be in hurry in that. And when we start dealing with the big data and all the stuff, right? So many people are saying R is not supporting the big data. R wonderfully supports the big data. There's no doubt about it. Okay, but you need to connect to the cloud network, and then you need to use Spark as part of your Spark and Python, and even R also you can use it for that matter. And there are different libraries that you will be using over there, which is a different dimension altogether. Just that running R cloud, whatever you are right now, you are learning perspective, this R cloud is not going is a bare basic stuff which you are looking into right now. So they are paid services basically. There are some paid services which you need to subscribe and then you have to go for it. So nowadays there are many cloud platforms are available for rent. They charge 1,000 rupees per month or something like that. You can actually subscribe to those things, and then you get there. Then you will have all those facilities. See, the best part of the story here is the ecosystem around the cloud is very important. Okay, and it has to be customized. It has to be given to you as a flavor. Then only you can learn. You can actually learn. We just started. Don't be in hurry. Okay, so in probably in another 1 more month time, at least I will make you ready from a data science concept understanding perspective. Okay, and then you move on to your machine learning. It depends upon you how you want to take it, but I will be helping you to give you the picture from a regression standpoint. I will take you to the simple linear regression and multiple linear regression. Okay, thereby you will get the hang. At least you will understand what this. I mean, where this data science is going to help me out. And we will also talk about the few concepts like ANOVA and other stuff, which will be very interesting. But at the same time, it's not that simple to really do it. Okay, this right now we are going through the R programming from an understanding of an EDA, exploratory data analysis, and see how we can prepare the data for your data analysis. Okay, okay, let's come back to our discussion. So last week we were looking at this, right? Which function where we will be using with respect to vectors, correct? I am defining a vector. Which function basically returns the position, but it doesn't return the values. But if you want to return the values, if you want to see the values, then what you have to do is you have to use this which function between the square brackets of any vector variable. That is what we looked at it. So let me run this once again. So to recap what we discussed last week, I am creating a vector x. See here with these values, I supplied the values. Then I am using the which function where I wanted to find out the values of vector x whose values in the vector x are greater than 5. So that is what I am running this. Now if I type this y, it will be telling me about the positions. What positions we have here? The fifth position, sixth position, seventh position, eighth position are having the values greater than number 5. If I want to fetch those values, I will be using the square brackets and assigning that vector to y. See here, now you can see all those values. This way also you can actually execute it. See here, this is the beauty. You can use the which function, or you can simply use the expression as part of your subscripting, which is not possible in any other language like C, C++, Java, where subscript is the subscript. You don't give an expression to the subscript. Okay, and we can find out the minimum value, maximum value. All those things are possible. So now I'm using the minimum command, minimum. So it is looking into this x vector, and it finds the minimum value of the x vector, which is 2. Okay. The another way of writing is there is something called, you can pass the expression to the which, where you can check the value. See here, what I'm trying to do is I am trying to check the vector x double equals to minimum x, minimum of the x value, and trying to figure out what is the position of that particular thing. Let us run this. See here 1, because if you look at this, 2 is in the first position, right? So now here I am using double equals to. Double equals to, basically it is the logical expression standpoint of view. So you are comparing the whole vector values with respect to some other value. That some other value is actually as a result of a function. What is that function? The function is a minimum or a maximum or anything it could be. This is the another flexibility. See why you need to know all these kind of a flavors, mainly because if you write 200 lines of COBOL code, or rather I can say if you write 500 lines of COBOL code, you can translate, you can do the same functionality using 100 lines of Java code, or rather I can say 100 lines of your C code. But the same 100 lines of C code, you can, the functionality you can achieve it in 50 lines of Java code. But now if I compare that with respect to the R, not even not R, so if I compare that with respect to the Python, the 50 lines of code can be, 50 lines of code functionality can be achieved within 2 to 3 lines of Python code. Compared to the, I mean, if I compare that to the data science, then probably R programming also support the same way, but not a total functionality, but from a data science functionality perspective, using R also with a very few lines of statements, within 5-6 lines of statements, you can actually achieve whatever that you want to achieve. That is why many students will come and tell me, sir, we were very comfortable with R and Python, but somehow we are struggling to find out Java. We are struggling to really understand what this object-oriented programming language is all about. Okay, but that is the reality. If I use, if I pass this statement in as a subscript to my x vector, then automatically it gives the value. See here, 2 has come. These are all different ways of writing the code using R. Okay. There is another way. You can use the dot, which dot min x gives me the position, which is similar to this. This statement and this statement will give you the same result. See here, this statement and this statement has given the same result. It is giving you the position value, but not the actual value. Are you with me? Any questions or any doubt? So instead of minimum, I'm using the maximum function. Maximum value here is 133. See here, if I click this, it is 130, right? And I can use all these values which will return my position. Is the seventh position. This is in the seventh position. Okay. Similar thing. Just only difference here is for this piece of code, this is minimum, this is maximum. Okay. And whatever the expression that you are passing to the which function, you can actually use, you can pass the combination of multiple expressions. Here it is. I am running this code right now. I'm generating the x vector. This 8, 7. These are the values. Now I'm trying to find out the positions of the values who of the values whose actual values are greater than 2 and less than 5. How many are here greater than 2 and less than 5? Can you please respond? How many are there satisfying this condition? Please respond in the chat. Guys, are you with me? Yes, there is only one value. Let's run this and see what it happens. And that one value is what? 4. Where is that? What is the position of 4? Position of 4 is 3. So when I run this, automatically it is showing me 3. If I pass the same value as my subscript, then automatically it fetches the value which is 4. Clear? Please respond. Because this function is very, very useful, guys. Okay. This pipe symbol stands for OR. Here it is AND. AND means it has to satisfy this statement and this statement. If I use this symbol, this will be either of this, either this or this. Either x is greater than 7 or x is less than 12. Let me run this. See here, so many values that it satisfies this condition, this combination of the condition. Clear? Moving on, there is a rep function, REP, which is stands for repetition. REP stands for your repetition. So what this function is, this basically using this rep function, you can generate the vectors. Now I want to generate a vector whose values are 1 to 5, but at the same time that values sequence will be need to occur 10 times. So here I use x equal to rep 1 to 5. 10 times I want the values to be there in this particular x vector. Let me run this. Check how x looks like. See here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like that 10 times the number sequence has been generated and assigned to this vector x. If I run this, it will like 100 repeated 10 times. Guys, are you with me? Okay. So now another expression. 3 to 6 times 4. I am using the concat function along with my rep function. Using this also you can generate the sequence. You can generate the vector. See here. See 3, 6. These two values are repeated 4 times. 3, 6, 3, 6, 3, 6, 3, 6. Kummam is, suppose there is a string called Kummam. If I run this, it will be that name is repeated 5 times. If I use this, if I use this, Ramesh Kumam name will be repeated 3 times. Now, come to here. 1 to 4, 5 to 8. See, the beauty of here is, I want to create a vector x whose values are 1, 2, 3, 4, but how many times it has to be repeated? 5 to 8. Let's see how it works. See here, 1 is repeated 5 times, 2 is the 2 is repeated 6 times, 3 is repeated 7 times, 4 is repeated 8 times. Okay. Guys, did you get what is this sequence is all about? So what it is incrementally you are increasing and generating the sequence, and that you are assigning it to a vector x. Very useful function, guys. Same thing here. 1 to 4, 1 to 2. That means, see here what will happen. Can you tell me what is the difference here? Out here it says invalid times argument. Guys, can you tell me what is the issue here? If you see here, the difference between these 5, 6, 7, 8, here 4, and the sequence is 1 to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this has to match. Here, that is not matching, hence it is cribbing. But if I change this, if I change this equation to, let's say, 2, it beautifully works. See here, 1 is repeated 1 time, 2 is repeated 2 times. Hope this is clear. Are you with me? Hello? Any questions? Okay. Now, there is another way. This is one way of writing the incrementing. Another way is by simply using the concat function. Generating 1 to 4 and using the concat, I will be telling you what to happen. So 1 is repeated 2 times, 2 is repeated 3 times, 3 is repeated 5 times, 4 is repeated to 7 times. Here it happens in an incremental fashion. When you use the concat, no need to do the incremental fashion. Whatever the value you specify, those many times the number is going to be generated. That is the difference between this 112th row and 110th row. Okay. Moving on. Rather, I want to simply repeat. So there is another function which is used in connection with ref function, each function. Here times is the number of times. Each means this is also similar to each value should be repeated those many times. See here, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4. 1 is repeated 3 times, 2 is repeated 3 times, 3 is repeated 3 times, 4 is repeated 3 times. You can use both each and times together. So what happens in this context? 1 to 4 sequence is generated. 1 is repeated 2 times, like that. 2 is repeated 2 times, 3 is repeated 2 times, 4 is repeated 2 times. That sequence repeated 3 times. That is what it is. Let's run this. See here, 1 is repeated 2 times, 2 is repeated 2 times, 3 repeated further. This sequence repeated 3 times. This is times equal to 3. Hope this is clear. You will be using all these commands, okay, in your process, in your data cleanup activity or data generation activity. These are all very useful during your exploratory data analysis. It's not that you can't, you can forget few functions. Every function, whatever I am showing you here as part of our training, you will be using each and every statement. It's as simple as that. Okay, moving on. Sequence function. There is another way of generating the vector is sequence function. The way it is the syntax here is sequence from equal to 1 to equal to 10 by 3. So in the sequence, I can define my step of increment. If I don't define any step, by default it goes by 1, increment by 1. So let us run this and see what happens. One to 10, increment is 3. First it will print 1. 1 plus 3, 4. 4 plus 3, 7. 7 plus 3, 10. Suppose you do something, you want to do a reverse of it. And you want to, how do I do that reverse of it? It is something like this. From 10 to 1 minus 3 means it is a reverse of the same story of what you have done earlier. See, it starts with the 10 first, subtract 3 here, 7, subtract 3 here, 4, subtract 3 here, 1. But if you don't change these values, if you run this, it will tell you, the system will crib about it. It's a wrong sign in by argument. So you need to be careful what is the value that you are passing to this from and to parameters. Another way of generating the vector is using this length function. I am specifying to generate a sequence 1 to 10 with the length 100. Let's run this. See here, system automatically generated some random numbers. 100 numbers is generated because length I specified as 100. But the values are 1 to 10. Because 1 to 10, system automatically slicing and dicing. So not necessarily every time you get a whole number. Because you have 1 to 10 whole numbers are only 10 only. But you are asking the length, you are specifying it as 100. So that is why you see all the decimal values, the numbers have been generated. 100 numbers. Same case if between 1 to 2, again it will be the same story. The difference here is, here I am used by function. Here it is from and to. So system is able to create numbers between 1 to 10 with the length 100. Here it starts from 1. I am, by giving this particular by parameter, I am specifying to the system what is the increment factor. and using this increment factor generate 100 numbers. That is what it means. Are you clear with me? Kritik, it will not give you the negative values because between 1 to 10 there are no negative values, right? 1 to 10 are positive values. So the system will not give you the negative value. Suppose if I specify minus here to make you clear and run this, then it will generate some negative values. See here, there are some negative values. Is that clear, Kritik? Please respond. Kritik, did you get what I'm trying to say? Okay. Now, I am running this x value. Now I created a x, these numbers. Now I'm creating a y with another vector. Now I'm combining these two vectors and creating a z. How do I do that? Using my concat function. So if I try this, see here, z, it generated so many numbers. The combination of the all x values, all y values put together, you have created z. Okay? Now, there are two more functions using which you can generate the vectors. What is sequence underscore length, sequence length, sequence along. These are the two functions. Again, very useful functions. If I run this is my x. Now I can use the length function here to find out how many numbers are here. Here also you can find out length and g, that will tell you what it is. See 150. You remember here 100 length is 100 x value, y values are 50. 100 plus 50 is 150. That is how g is. So now length g will tell you 150 values which are existing in that. Okay. In this x you have 8 values. So now this length of x I wanted to parse it to sequence length. So then see what will happen. Length of x will give 8 number because my x vector is having 8 values, and my sequence length basically will be telling me all the values. It will tell you 8, the what do you call that, the positions of that. See 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 is being created. This one 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 position. Sequence along will give you again the length of my x vector. Return the length of the object. These many numbers you have. So these are all different functions using which we will be generating your vectors. Okay. Sometimes when you are, where do you really see these vectors? Every column in your Excel, in your data files, every column in your database, every column in your database is a vector. And in every vector, you will have some missing values. Missing values in the sense, there are some spaces available. For some values might have not been entered in that particular column. All these scenarios are applicable, right? How to deal those things? Very, very, very important as part of your exploratory data analysis. Okay. Now, I am generating a vector with four values 11, 3, 5, and 7, assigning it to x. Let's see how x looks like. And now, second element I wanted to replace with NA. I did this. Now, how my x looks like? See here, second value got updated with the NA. Now, I also want to do something else here. The second and the third value. Okay. Second and third value, again, this second value, third value got updated with NA. Now I have two NAs in my vector. In R, when you read the database or when you read the files or when you read the Excel files, wherever the spaces are available, wherever values are missing in the column, system automatically puts NA values into that. When we will look into those things when we get into the files. We will show you how it works, but that is how it is. So finding out the NA values is very important. That will tell you how many values are actually missing. Now, to find out those things, there is a very simple function called is.na. See here, it will simply tell you whether the NA values are exist or not. So it is telling me false means there is a number, NA true means NA value is available. It is telling is NA, is dot NA, and within the bracket you pass that vector. That will tell you whether the NA values are existing in that particular vector or not. But if I really, if there is a negation function, exclamation is a negation function here in R. Okay, if you use this and this expression, if you pass this to X vector as a subscript, then it will return you the value. See here, 11 and 7 are not NAs. Okay. If I tell you, if I do this, I'm removing this exclamation and I'm going to run this. It is returning the second and third NA values. Hope this is clear. Any doubt, guys, please respond. Okay. So sometimes you want to use omit function, which what it does is, if I run, there's something called na.omit. Very, very useful function, buddy. Very, very useful. So when I run this, automatically it removed NAs and it showed the values 11 and 7. And it has given me some, it has given you some action stating that this NA, the omit function is actually has taken an action for the second position and third position where your NAs are sitting, second and third position, and it applied a class called omit. Sorry, it applied the function onto this numeric class, and that is what it is showing. What is the function it is using? It is using it has used omit function. That is what it means. This is what na.omit does. Basically, it removes the NAs. Simple. Now the question comes. Sometimes you are telling me when I'm reading the values that are there in the column, if there is a space or if values are not existing, system by default it is putting NAs. And sometimes you are actually removing the NAs because you don't want the NAs to be deleted. So when I will be removing NAs, when I will be, I mean, rather I can say how I can deal with the NAs. This we will do it when we get into the simple linear regression example. When we do a small live code, when we do that, I will show you how this works. Clear? Okay. Another one. I am creating a vector x with the values 1 NA, 5 NA. Let me create that. Run this x. 1 NA, 5 NA. Now, question here is, can I use my and or double equals? What do you call these guys? When I use these operations, let me check this. So what happened here? Can you guess what is happening here? Guys, are you with me? So this, you, what it means is, any you are trying to, when you are trying to equate that with the double equals to or whatever, okay, system doesn't actually takes it the way it is. So by default, it keeps NA at every place. You see here, we have seen the NA at every place. Even if I'm trying to subscript this one, it is returning NA. But original value of x is not impacted. Original value of the x is as it is, because this operation with NA, okay, gives you, applies NA everywhere. Keep this in mind, otherwise you will do many mistakes. It is something like, if C and C++, right, you always try to compare whether the space values with whatever it is, okay, or the value is not existing. You write, when you are writing the if loops and everything, right? At that point of time, you try to use such kind of expressions which will bounce back to you big time in R. You need to be really careful how this works. Okay. So again, now the question comes, how do we name the vectors? You can use it the name same the way you define it, the your variables, primitive variables, like this x, whatever it is. By default, when you use whatever you have seen on the above so far, they are all the different ways of generating the sequence and generating the vectors. Okay, and automatically system identifies that you are trying to you are trying to create a vector, and the same rule applicable when defining the name of the vector. What are the rules? Always it should start with an alphabet. It should not start with a number. Okay, that you have to keep it in mind. So when I say names, names is one function. When I use the names, it will try to define the positions for that. See here, I have created a vector with 1, 2, 3, and I can define the position name. I can attach a name to the position. How do I do that? Using the names function. Names x equals to concat ABC within quotes. It will tell me the names, the position names of x. If I run the x, you see here, positions have been named as ABC. Under the A, you have one value 1. Under B, value 2. Under C, value 3. Is that clear, guys? This way also you can define. These are all different ways. I wanted to know the values of my position A and my position B. So I'm defining that in, I'm passing this, I'm using the concat function and passing these values within the within the square brackets, that becomes a subscript, and those values it is displaying. So creating the name here. This way, this is the same whatever we have done on the top is just name change, that's all. Moving on. How do I know the value is existing? Let's see this. Checking the availability of the elements in a vector. Now I am trying to define a vector A whose values are 1 to 10. I am defined another vector called B, okay, from 5 to 15. There is the overlap of these many values. This is overlap which you can see in these two vectors. Okay. Now I wanted to compare this and try to see what is this. So there is a function called in which will tell you this. So I'm trying to say one, the way its syntax is percent in A. So if I run this, let's see what will happen. So 1 is existing in sequence in vector A, right? If I run, if I same thing, if I try to do this for B, it should say false. If I say A in B, that means yes, very much. So let's run this and see what it is. A in B, what it is telling me, it is false, 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 false. Wherever the 5 to 6, 7, 8, everywhere from there it is true. B in A, it will compare with respect to B in A. This is true up to here, 10, up to 10 it is true. From 11 onwards it is false. Okay. There is another way of doing the same thing. Is element is a function. Is dot element A comma B. That means any commonality existing between A and B, then that will show you as a true. Wherever the values are matching, it will show you true. These are all different ways of executing the same thing. Guys, is that clear to you? Any questions here? So this file and the next this file will be uploaded. Ravi will be sharing you in your WhatsApp. Please go ahead and do. Please practice all these things, because today's class is very important. You have to practice all these things. Is that okay? Moving on. Then, so far we have seen the numbers, we have seen the variables, data types, and all those things, and we have seen the vectors. Then now we need to look at something called matrix, which is a very important. All your databases are nothing but matrices, because your rows and columns are nothing but your database. Matrix contains rows and columns. So matrix and your database are same. If you deal with the matrices algebra, if you become an expert in the matrix algebra, you will become a very fine data scientist in the world. So matrix algebra is something which is another subject by itself. Not necessarily you should know everything about it, but right now R and Python are basically having many built-in functions So you don't need to really understand what this matrix algebra is. However, when you are actually getting into the deep learning and other areas, knowing this knowing this matrix algebra is very, very important. Okay, what is a matrix? How do I create a matrix? I create a matrix using the matrix function. Now I am generating a vector called x with the values 1 to 9. From the vector, I will be creating the matrix using the matrix function, and to this matrix function, I will pass my vector and I will specify how many columns I want and how many rows I want. So I am creating a matrix mat, M-A-T. Sorry. See here, number of columns, I have given it as 3. Number of columns is equal to 3. So what it did, the same vector, x vector, it first 3 values, it put it in the vertical direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I use number of rows equal to 3, by row equal to t, that means 3 rows are required. I want to create a matrix by rows. T stands for true. In such a situation, the value that it is going to be, the values are something like this. The difference here is, here values of x are put in arranged in the column fashion. In this, it is in the row fashion. You see, 1, 2, 3 is here, 4, 5, 6 here, 7, 8, 9 here. If you see here, 1, 2, 3 is here, 4, 5, 6 here, 7, 8, 9 is here. Fair enough? Now the question comes. I am defining, let's say, y matrix equal to matrix. I simply pass x. How the values are going to be? Any guess? How the values are going to be? I'm simply typing y. See what is the values? If you don't specify rows or columns, by default system is generating you a column vector. This is called column vector. I will be teaching these things when I will teach you the basics of matrix. But it is you can generate a column vector and row vector. Both are possible. So remember, R by default generates the column vector. Hence, when you want to generate a row vector, you have to use this parameter and you have to make this parameter as a true. If you make this parameter as a false, then again it will generate a column. Try all these options. Okay. Now, define, let's run this. So I created a horizontal matrix. The values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, how do I access the elements, access these values? Is very simple. Here you need to use the subscript, that is square brackets. Within the square bracket, you have to specify what is the row, what is the column. The row and column are separated by comma. That means if I see here, this represents row, this represents column, and separated by comma. If I say mat within square brackets 1, 3, let me run this. So it is telling me first row, third column, which is value 3. This is the value. If I want to access all rows but first column. When you want to access all rows, all you have to do is, you don't need to specify any value before your comma. That means left hand side of the comma, you have to keep it empty, then it will show you all the rows. If the right hand side of the comma is empty, it will show you all the columns. Let us execute this and see. See here, I wanted one, what is I wanted? All rows values. All rows, what are the values here? 1, 4, 7. And I am only talking about first column. All rows, first column. Okay. If I specify like this without anything, it will create the entire matrix as it is, because by default, all rows, all columns. You can also use minus symbol to omit the columns or to omit the rows. This is, if I use -1, that means first column will be ignored. See here, first column is missing, only these values are there, 2, 5, 8, 3, 6, 9. Are you with me? Okay. So you can also do the same thing using concat function. Here, concat 1, 2, that means first row, second row, third column. This will display first row, second row, third column. Right? Any doubt? This is the one. Now I want, see, using, you can use minus and the concatenate function. That is also possible here. So if I run this, see, it is telling me I don't want this value, this value, this value, and this value. I want this value. That means first row, second row, you ignore. Take the third row, but in the column position, third column is there. So third row, third column is 9. That is what it is displaying. Hope this is clear, guys. Guys, are you clear with this? Please respond, everyone, because this is very, very important. If we will be dealing every time, every day. Okay. Okay, I will stop here. But Tharun was asking a question. He is asking which is the better way of replacing the NAs, or is it a dropping them, or you have to do it? There is a concept called imputation. Impute. So it is a separate topic when we will actually do this exploratory data analysis of little small project kind of a thing. That time I will explain you, Tharun. Don't worry. So that you can't simply by default delete those NAs. You can't drop the NAs just like that. You have to impute the values for NA. How to impute? There are many ways. Okay. So I'll stop it here, guys. So let's meet tomorrow.